Tommy.
How's it
Good
going,
evening.
man? Good evening.
Episode 53. Let's get the show started, why don't we?
Agility from the champion. Oh, deep six! That could be it. Delivers this deep six.
Good evening, Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast fans. This is the road to WrestleMania. We are coming off the heels of the Royal Rumble. The show is on. Tommy, how you doing, man? Super Bowl tomorrow. You ready?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, you'd expect me to be ready. My little brother's a big Buccaneers fan, so this is his kind of weekend. You know, I got the Rays World Series experience earlier this past year, but now he gets to see his first Super Bowl. So he's excited. I'm excited. It should be a really good game, man.
Tommy mustache in the house, by the way.
I know, man. I like I was saying before the show started, I normally just trim my beard and keep the mustache, but I completely shaved it. And I first saw the preview of it, and I didn't realize how ridiculous I looked. But I'm rocking it right now, so nothing I can do about it. It'll grow back in one point.
So who do you got winning tomorrow? I have Kansas City by 20. Call me crazy, but I got
by
Kansas
20.
Yes.
By 20. Wow. I mean, it would hurt me to even go for the Kansas City Chiefs since I'm a Broncos fan, still repping my team, even though we're in the off season. But I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers, man. I think they're gonna get revenge from earlier in the season. I think Brady is a tough cat to beat in the Super Bowl, and I just don't see Kansas City being able to get enough points to keep up with Brady. Now, I know that sounds weird with Kansas City's offense, but I think the way that Buccaneers defense has been playing in the playoffs this year it's been absolutely incredible. I think they're firing on all cylinders, and I think Brady will do just enough to get them over the hump. So I'm going to say Buccaneers. I think I changed my score last week, but let's say 35-31 Buccaneers.
Let me tell you this. If Tom Brady does what he did against Green Bay, throwing 3 interceptions to Green Bay's defense between the third and fourth quarter, that's going to end it for Tampa Bay. Because you'll be keeping Tampa Bay's defense on the field for a long time, first of all. And Casey's offense is too good for that. Unlike Green Bay, Kansas City will capitalize, if not on all those interceptions that Brady would have thrown in that last game against Green Bay. You cannot do that against a team like Kansas City because they will capitalize each and every single time. So if Brady's turning that ball over, don't expect the Tampa Bay to win.
No, exactly. And I think the thing is Tyreek Hill had 200 yards in the first quarter the last time these two teams played earlier this season. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Buccaneers are going to play a lot more deep coverage, try to eliminate the deep ball. But like you said, the one thing that really doesn't matter with Kansas City's offense is time of possession. They can control the ball for 8 minutes, or they can go down and score in 2 plays, in a minute. It's insane how many weapons the Kansas City Chiefs offense has. But I just really strongly believe that this is the year that Brady kind of silences the doubters for once, gets away from Belichick, the whole system quarterback thing. He comes in, has a fantastic year under Bruce Arians, under Byron Leftwich as his offensive coordinator. I really think this is the year that Brady kind of puts himself in that upper echelon of GOATs, across all sports. Mike Jordan, Babe Ruth, Wayne Gretzky. I think he puts himself up there with this win. Hopefully tomorrow. But if I would have voted for the Chiefs, my fellow Broncos fans and my little brother probably would have all came after me. So yeah, I got to pick the Buccaneers in this one.
We will see what happens. You can never count. This is Tom Brady's 10th Super Bowl. So,
incredible. I mean, that's all you can say.
Unbelievable run. But I think the torch has been passed already, and that will be solidified tomorrow in a showdown with Patrick Mahomes. But we'll see. But we are in WrestleMania season. I would definitely like to give a couple shout outs to the Living the Gimmick podcast. If you guys are always looking for podcasts other than ours, we love recommending what we like to listen to. Living the Gimmick, great podcast, different style, awesome. We get a lot of our style from them. To be honest, and also our friends Randy and Em at the Cut Pro Wrestling Podcast. Make sure you check them out. They have gotten some wrestlers past and present. Most recently, Chris Bay, Thunder Rosa, DDP, Chris Van Vliet, who I'm hoping that we'll have on eventually. Anyhow, make sure you check those podcasts out. It is winter time here in the Northeast. A lot of downtime. Nobody's really going out anywhere. So, if you got time to listen, check those podcasts out. Of course, check us out. Make sure you sharing us with your friends and family, and have them hit the subscribe button. Help us out and get the word out that we are here each and every week with review shows, watch-alongs, post pay-per-view reactions, whatever we decide to do.
Yeah, we're having fun over here. We even have might be teasing something here in the coming days. Maybe an extra addition to the Deep Six family. Keep that one under wraps for now. But yeah, we got a little bit of a teaser coming up here, and I'm excited for it.
So let's talk a little Monday Night Raw. I'm going to have to kind of shoot from the hip or off my memory because I just realized my Raw notes are deleted. But not a whole lot going on there. Not a good Raw at all, but Monday Night Raws have not been good. I'm taking a shovel and burying it right now. Monday Night Raw. I don't even know why I have that banner up. Maybe I should change it to a SmackDown one.
Yeah, get a different one. Get a Sunday Night Heat one, man. Throw it back.
Hey, listen, even the Sunday Night Heats back then
we're better than Raw.
Are better than Raw right now.
Yeah, this one was tough.
So it was a bookend. It was a bookend show.
Yeah, they seemed. I mean, I think the one thing that everybody talked about. I mean, we talked about it on our Royal Rumble post show was, okay, what's Edge gonna do? We want to see Edge's promo. I'm interested in seeing Edge come back. Maybe we see another appearance from Christian and Carlito. Carlito did have a match, but yeah, I mean, they ran with the Edge promo first. It was the first segment of the night, and honestly, after that, I kind of just tuned out. I really didn't care for much, and I obviously didn't miss that much either because Raw, like you said, has just not been too good. It seems like forever that it's actually been enjoyable.
Hey, you notice that Randy Orton's face is miraculously healed?
Yeah, man. I mean, he had those burns, and it was such a big thing that they had that weird promo with him wearing the mask and everything, and then it just, 2 weeks later, he's completely healed. It almost was like nothing really happened. So yeah, the storyline continuity has been another bad thing for Raw, for WWE, honestly, over the past few years. But yeah, I really just don't care to watch Raw that much anymore. It seems like I'll watch the ones after the pay-per-views just to see if there's anything interesting. But even the Edge promo was kind of, and seeing what we got throughout the week was just kind of nothing. It was just I'll tell you who I'm gonna come after later, but I will give you credit.
I don't know how you have such a bad Raw to kick off the road to WrestleMania.
Following very good to extremely good, depending on who you ask, Royal Rumble pay-per-view, given the circumstances. I mean,
if anybody thinks this Raw is good, they got to check themselves in the mirror.
Yeah. Well, I do got to give you credit. You did call Sheamus going after Drew McIntyre. He finally turns on him in the first segment.
That's what happened.
Yeah, he gives him the pro kick to start off.
So that's what happened in Raw.
It was so telegraphed. Yeah. It was Kevin Dunn, has had his bloopers throughout the year, but I mean, I've never seen a move so telegraphed. I was watching it with my little brother. He's sitting next to me. I go, I guarantee Sheamus kicks him right here. They close up on Drew McIntyre. They pan out, and he goes right in for the bro kick. Okay, like I guess if those two have a match at Elimination Chamber or Fastlane, fine. But I will give you credit because you did call it. But gosh, they telegraphed it so hard.
Well, they've been planting the seeds for Drew McIntyre and Sheamus for a while now, and WWE kept on reminding you throughout this whole time, the past couple months, that Sheamus and Drew are great friends and what have you. And then you've had Keith Lee kind of intertwined, Keith Lee fighting Drew, Sheamus fighting Keith Lee, and now looks like we're going to get Sheamus Drew probably Elimination Chamber or Fastlane. So we're going to get I would think we're going to get a little bit earlier than Mania, but we could get the payoff by Mania, I would think, with Sheamus and then Keith Lee not being in the Rumble. He might be able to somehow insert himself into the match with Drew McIntyre, assuming that they go that way. And Edge decides to go with another champion. So assuming that happens, I would think what makes the most sense right now is that we get Drew versus Keith Lee and Sheamus. And in my estimation, at Mania, Drew would probably drop the belt, and I would have to say maybe Keith Lee getting the pin on Sheamus. I don't think Drew would take the pinfall, but that's just a huge possibility for now.
Yeah, I think, and you read a lot of the dirt sheets, a lot of the rumors. It seems like the forward plan right now is Edge versus Roman Reigns. I'm fine with that. I initially thought it would be Edge versus Drew McIntyre. Maybe it's just me, but that match seems better to me. Great, you can't discredit the work that Roman Reigns has done, but I'm just fearful of the amount of times we're going to hear spear versus spear. The amount of times that is going to be brought up.
Well, listen, I'd rather hear spear versus spear with Edge Reigns rather than Goldberg Reigns.
Oh, for sure. No, definitely. I feel like but the only reason I say that is because I feel like if they did Edge versus McIntyre, you could do Daniel Bryan versus Reigns. So you have that money match.
Well, we're going to talk about Daniel Bryan later when we hit up SmackDown, but I have the sense that they possibly could be turning him.
Yeah, I could see that as well. But yeah, going off of the, let's say the proposed Mania match, and again, WWE probably doesn't even know what they're doing at this point.
I don't think they do.
And that's not a knock towards the company. It's just there's been so many moving parts.
And how do you book 2 nights?
Yeah, exactly. There's been so many new parts, coming off of the fact
matches
exactly there. With the last year, just with the coronavirus pandemic, we get that tease of having fans at an event with tomorrow. I mean, the Super Bowl is the first big event that is really going to have a ton of fans at it. Just so happens that it's taking place in the exact same stadium. So WWE kind of gets to see a test run of that. But I think there's been so many moving parts that they just really don't know how the WrestleMania card is going to turn out. And that's okay. But if we do see that Keith Lee, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre match, if there's fans there, I think Drew retains. I know you said Keith Lee could get the pin on Sheamus. I think Drew is still kind of owed that moment because he has carried this company through these really muddy waters over the last year. I think he still deserves that moment of having live fans in attendance, seeing him get that, the quote unquote WrestleMania moment. So for me, yeah, that's the way I see it. But either way, I think if you do run Edge versus Roman Reigns and then have a triple threat with Keith Lee, Sheamus, and McIntyre, I think those are 2 solid, if not great matches that you can run as your main events, for the double night show that they're having in April.
They're going to stack that WrestleMania card for sure. Absolutely. I would expect to see NXT matches thrown in that mix for sure. Now, they put themselves in a position where they have to do 2 nights now.
Yeah.
Not that they have to. They advertise this, now they're going to do it. And I'm thinking maybe it's to get more total number of paying fans. I really don't know what the ticket situation is going to be like for sure. I'm still waiting to see when the tickets sale date's going on, and they haven't even announced that yet.
I'm sure that'll run during the Chamber pay-per-view. What? Because next week is Takeover. I love the name, by the way. Vengeance. I think it's Vengeance Day. Is that sounds right?
Vengeance Day, yes.
Yeah, I like the throwback. But yeah, then the following week we have Elimination Chamber. So I think by the time Elimination Chamber comes around, we're going to hear some ticket information. And again, like I said, tomorrow is a huge test run for the WWE. I'm sure there'll be WWE officials or people there who can get a sense of how the NFL is running the Super Bowl and how they're allowing fans in and just the overall vibe of what's going on. And I think that is a great idea that WWE can use for when they're planning this 2-night event, this WrestleMania, where supposedly they're having fans both nights and they're selling, from what I've heard, the initial thought is selling 1-night or 2-night events. So you could sell, buy tickets for both nights or buy tickets for just one night. So I'm intrigued to see how they do it, but I'm also really intrigued just to see how the NFL works tomorrow's Super Bowl, because that's going to be huge. I mean, you're going to have probably more eyes than you've ever had on the product than in any recent time.
Yeah, tomorrow's Super Bowl is going to be an indicator of giving you an idea of how many fans that WWE is going to allow in a building for WrestleMania. And of course, WrestleMania will probably do the cardboard cutouts too as well, intertwined. Maybe they take NFL's props. I don't know how they're going to do it. WWE WrestleMania will probably darken the stadium. I don't know. From a production standpoint, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they do all this. But
you also have to imagine the fact that the NFL has so many yards in between where the field is and where the stands are. You got the ring in the very middle of the field, say about the 50-yard line. You can bring so many more stands, closer to what they're having. So I'm intrigued by that.
If you watch New Japan had for the G1.
Yeah.
They had every other seat. The Japanese people were sitting every other seat, and it actually looked pretty good on TV. The lights were a little dim, but it looks really good on TV from a production standpoint. So I think WWE can pull it off where it looks good on TV.
Yeah.
While having plenty enough people to get an authentic crowd noise.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is it's just going to be nice. I don't know how close, we'll be or when that point will come to where we'll have full crowds again, but it'll be nice to be able to actually have non-fabricated crowd noise, like real crowd noise, real people being there and enjoying the show.
There'll be a little piped-in noises in between.
Yeah, but I feel like it'll be more crowd noise than piped-in crowd noise, which will make the enjoyment for fans at home so much more, so much more heightened compared to the past pay-per-views that we've, experienced since last year's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It seems so weird.
It does. It does. Next year in Texas, you got the year after in LA. Like I said, if I don't know by March 1st, March, I would say February 28th is my deadline. That's the deadline where I could put request time in for work. That's the absolute deadline. If I don't have request in, if I don't know what the deal is with Mania by then unfortunately I won't be going to Tampa. But I'll definitely do Texas for sure. I love the state of Texas. LA is going to be a little bit of a cluster as far as driving go. In Inglewood area, the driving is horrendous. And to imagine 70,000 people, which by WrestleMania 39, I would think will be back to normal, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully.
By the time
knock on wood.
But great. I love California, and I plan to make a 7 to 10 day trip out of that one. But they better fix the infrastructure. Oh man.
Yeah.
Moving on, NXT. So as the week got better, I'm sorry. As the week moved along, I felt the wrestling, the events, they got better. We got Raw. We got that train wreck out of the way, so that's done.
It's in the bag.
Yeah,
behind it.
We had a couple noticeable stuff going on. We'll run through it really quick. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai defeat Casey Catanzaro and Caitlin Carter. You obviously knew who was going to win here, but great showing. They messed up a couple bumps, a couple spots, you can tell. But other than that, the girls worked their butts off. I was happy. I watched the whole match, stuck with it the whole way. Then we got Karrion Kross. He's feuding with Escobar.
I'm interested by this.
As long as there's no cruiserweight title on the line, and that Karrion Kross is not getting relegated to cruiserweight status.
Yeah,
then I'm cool. It's a fresh, very fresh matchup.
Yeah,
and Escobar, I feel like could be elevated here. This could definitely elevate Escobar. Escobar's got a good look.
Yeah,
he's a believable champion. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this because, like you said, we don't want it to get to the point where Karrion Kross is being relegated to the cruiserweight. But as we saw later in the show, it seems like he's still being treated as the main event guy. I mean, even up to the point where he could get called up in the next few months, and I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that we've kind of harped on this show is we just want to see fresh matchups. There's so many people on the roster who don't get a good amount of TV time and don't get that fresh opportunity. And I really am intrigued. I love Karrion Kross's character. I think he's fantastic. Coming off that injury that he suffered in that Finn Balor match, now we get to see him, against arguably one of the better champions on the NXT roster. I'm really intrigued by Escobar. I think he's great in the ring. I like his look. And yeah, I'm excited for this one, man. I'm excited to see how this plays out because I think there can be a really good dynamic between Scarlett and the rest of Phantasma's, stable.
We got a comment from Jay the Boss. Y'all heard about Tyler Rex? We weren't going to talk about that. In fact, I was going to open up the show with it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we heard big news. We're not gonna talk about it too much, but we know the news is out there. We've seen it, and is what it is. But moving on, so we got NXT Vengeance Day coming. That's gonna feature Pete Dunne versus Finn Balor.
Man,
that is going to be a barn burner.
It honestly. And this is, as much as I love Kyle O'Reilly.
This might be match of the year.
Yeah, if you enjoyed Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor, their two matches, this match, I expect nothing less than at least a 4.5-star, 5-star match. I mean, this match has, if given the amount of time and just let them go out and beat the shit out of each other, this match will be fantastic. And I'm so excited for it. I'm interested in the way that they're kind of hinting at. I know it's of the three brands, Edge is most likely not going to challenge for the NXT title.
No,
but
I like that.
But I do like that they gave fans just a little hint of it. Just the chance of seeing. Yeah, I think that is smart. I think again, most fans know he's either going to go after the Raw or SmackDown title. That's fine, but at least showing that there's still some crossover between Raw and SmackDown and NXT, I enjoy that. And hopefully it leads to some matches down the line where we see guys like Edge, guys like Randy Orton. Randy Orton versus Tommaso Ciampa is a match I've always wanted to see. Excuse me. But being able to see Edge just hint at it. Show up on NXT and talk about how, I thought his promo was great, talking about how, NXT kind of gave him his passion back. I love that. And I'm really, really excited for this match on Valentine's Day. I think their match is going to steal the show.
What did Edge say? On the main roster, WWE's focused too much on the E.
Yeah, and here's focused on the wrestling.
On the W, the wrestling.
Yeah.
True.
It is. It's very true. And
Absolutely
I love that.
true.
When you can blend the lines of reality in wrestling without going too far, I think you're doing great in your promos. Edge has always been a great talker ever since he kind of got into that rated R superstar era. And
That launched his career.
Yeah, 2004, 2005. Yeah. I mean, that is such a good promo. I think he did such a great job. And again, it's just that hint of saying, okay, well, maybe he could go after and challenge. And I'm honestly hoping that they don't announce his decision, whether he goes after the Raw or SmackDown title, whatever. Save his decision until next Sunday. After next Sunday, let fans just kind of have that. Okay, just maybe he might challenge for NXT. You got to build anticipation. I mean, we're, like you said at the beginning of the show, we're on the road to WrestleMania, man. I mean, this is the biggest show of the year. You got to build anticipation for it. Give me just a slight chance of seeing this match, and you'll make a lot more fans interested in the product.
Absolutely. Io Shirai versus Martinez and Storm. Well, first off, let's take a step back really quick. Dunn versus Balor. I'm thinking, when we get to prediction show, if we do prediction show for it, so we'll do post show, but if we do prediction show, I can see Pete Dunne winning the title here, and then Balor going after Walter.
Yeah, I think this is the time you take. I honestly agree with you. I think this is the time you take the title off Balor. I think
instead of Finn Balor versus Walter.
Yeah, I think if you really want to show, I mean, again, we haven't seen him on TV for a while, but Pat McAfee kind of started this group, the Kings of NXT. I think that's their name. Give them a push, man. Let them continue to be top tier. And give Pete Dunne that championship. I love Pete Dunne. I think he's done great since he came over from NXT UK. And again, just another fresh matchup, Finn Balor versus Walter. You have this great match.
It was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit.
And then I also think Pete Dunne, that opens up so many more opportunities. I mean, maybe we see him go against Tommaso Ciampa or Johnny Gargano at, whatever the takeover is around WrestleMania. Kyle O'Reilly. There's so many more possibilities. And that's not to say that Finn Balor's been a bad champion, because he's been fantastic.
If Pete Dunne wins, he ain't giving up the title anytime soon.
No.
Yeah. They don't like to do hot potato with the NXT title.
No, and that's great.
Unless somebody gets hurt.
Yeah, and I think it gives that title a lot more prestige to when somebody does win it. And it even makes it, because like you said, I mean, that was your first comment, they don't play hot potato. But every time they have a fresh matchup like they did with that first Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor match, you're kind of thinking to yourself, okay, maybe this is the point where they just do a quick change, 2 months into his reign or however long it was, and they do something cool and let Kyle O'Reilly get that title. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy what they're doing with the NXT title. But yeah, man, I could really see Dunne walking away with the title next Sunday.
Somebody just said that something. And then we got I could see so we got Io Martinez versus Storm.
Yeah.
I think the push is going to Storm here, if you ask me.
Yeah. I know she was kind of a late addition because of Mia Yim's COVID test for the Royal Rumble. But no, I love Toni Storm. I don't know if they take the belt off of Io Shirai just yet. I could see these two having a match. Again, we don't know what TakeOver's next event after this one is, but I assume there'll be one around WrestleMania.
They haven't announced one yet. But...
Yeah, they haven't announced one. But if they do one around that time, and they do an Io Shirai versus Toni Storm singles match, I think that's when you take the title off of Shirai. Because I think that is the perfect person who can fit into that. Who can we call up for that Monday after WrestleMania? And she's the kind of person I think Io Shirai would be great in that role. But yeah, I think that match will be really good too. I think this card is just turning out absolutely incredible.
Yeah, And then we also got Gargano versus Kushida coming up too.
Oh my gosh!
We know I don't see Kushida winning it. To be
Really,
honest.
you don't see Kushida winning? I could
I'm
see
not too
Kushida
sure
winning
if
that match.
the NXT machine's behind him like that. I don't know.
Really?
Maybe for a little while.
I think he could get an upset win.
Maybe a little run for a little while.
Yeah, I know Johnny is Johnny Takeover, but again, another guy who I could see coming up at this year's WrestleMania, because
those
WWE
guys are going to tear it up, though.
Oh yeah,
I'm looking forward to that match.
That's the card for this pay-per-view is absolutely insane. But again, what I was saying was I could see Gargano coming up to Raw after that WrestleMania. They need to build stars. They need to bring in new people.
They need to. Listen. They're all in Florida. They're not traveling around right now. It'll be a good time to move some guys around. Raw needs a shot in the arm. So if you're gonna call up anybody right now, SmackDown's doing fine. You're gonna put some fresh stars on Raw and get a little shot in the arm. They need it bad.
Yeah, so
but there are guys in NXT that don't want to go to the main roster, specifically Raw, but they don't want to go to the main roster at all because they know what's going to happen to them. They'll lose their push. They'll lose everything that they worked for.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. When you see the history of NXT guys or NXT guys and gals who have come up to Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, it's not very good. I mean, it really isn't. But I think I keep saying this with kind of like the wishful thinking part of my brain, but I'm thinking WWE knows that they're getting a lot more competition than I think they initially bargained for. I think they know that AEW is bringing out, and again, we'll talk about AEW's show, later in this show. But WWE knows that AEW is bringing the heat, and they are really going after it. Maybe not to be their competitors, but to be a respected wrestling brand in the United States. And I think WWE is going to try and do everything that they can to not only make the Royal Rumble, which I think they succeeded, excellent, make the road to WrestleMania excellent, and make WrestleMania itself excellent. So if you can get all the eyes on that product during that time, you have a strong pay-per-view, a run to WrestleMania, strong WrestleMania 2-night event in itself, get those eyes on the product, and then you come out that next Monday and you bring in these NXT guys and actually show, hey, we want them to be a huge part of our brand. I think that's going to say wonders about what WWE's eyes are on the future. But again, that's that wishful thinking part of my brain that's saying they'll give these NXT guys for once a chance. One can only hope.
Absolutely. NXT Dusty Men's Classic continues next week with Ciampa and Thatcher against Grizzled Young Veterans. They defeated Undisputed Era in Roderick Strong and Adam Cole this past week, which was an amazing match.
Yeah.
Seems like Thatcher and Ciampa have a newfound love for each other, respect, after their brutal cage match from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting pairing. I have a feeling. Oh, this is a tough one to call, to be honest. And I think this is a semifinal match. Grizzled Young Veterans and Ciampa and Thatcher. I could not tell you who they're gonna have win that match. I feel like they love Grizzled Young Veterans.
I agree with you, but when I look at the other semifinal match, I think it's Legado del Fantasma and MSK, which was formerly the Rascals, or two parts of the Rascals in Impact. I think when you look at these two matches, you kind of have a veteran side versus the young gun side. And so I think if you go with the more proven veterans and the team that's fought each other in Thatcher and Ciampa, have them win this match and then go up against, I like MSK in the next round. I think that is a really good, again, fresh finals matchup, fresh matchup just to begin with. I think that's a great pay-per-view matchup, and it can get more eyes on MSK, who just debuted, I want to say less than a month ago. It'll be an intriguing week of TV this Wednesday with NXT. But yeah, I like to see Thatcher and Ciampa versus MSK at Valentine's Day or Vengeance Day.
So we got also got WWE SmackDown. We'll hit up AEW in a minute before we wrap up the show. But we got SmackDown. Pretty good show last night. Once again,
Yeah.
I mean, other than Otis being on my TV around the 9:00 hour,
You're not an Otis fan?
not really about it. It's like whatever. You got Dolph in the mix. You got Bobby Roode in the mix. Like
My dad's not a
almost just watching those guys.
Yeah.
It's almost watching like Miz and Morrison. I just
Yeah.
had enough of them.
My
But
dad's not a
the
big
rest of the show
wrestling
was
fan,
good.
but Otis is his favorite. So he loves the working man gimmick. But yeah, the rest of the
That's a
show
pretty
was
good
good,
show.
man. I enjoyed it. The only problem I had with it, and again, I understand why they did it, but as the week went on, seeing Edge on every show, and they kept teasing, "Oh, I'm gonna say who I'm gonna challenge," and then he never did. I don't know. That just bothered me in some aspect. Normally, we see the Royal Rumble winners lay down their challenge the next night, or the following week, but they're not appearing on every show. So when you're running the same promo 3 nights out of the week, it can kind of get repetitive.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was with different wrestlers.
That's
It's
true.
just- the story is like he's kind of feeling out each of the wrestlers right now.
Yeah.
He's never faced any one of the
Yeah.
champions.
Completely different environment than when he
So
left.
it makes storytelling makes sense with the Edge. I think they're doing just fine with it. But yeah, I mean, SmackDown starts out. We see Roman calling out Edge, for disrespecting him. That Edge should have been out first, waiting for Roman and what have you. And then Roman's demanding an answer by the end of the night. Well, he got his answer. Edge and Roman were in the ring, and then you see Paul Bearer and Jey Uso looking like a hostile situation at first. And then Kevin Owens comes in from behind and stuns Roman Reigns.
Are they
So
continue?
are they
we
going to
see
continue
this?
to WrestleMania with Roman versus Kevin Owens, which we said was another possibility?
I don't know if they continue all the way to WrestleMania, but I do see them in.
Because there's been no payoff of Kevin Owens yet. He's lost 3
No.
times already.
They have to do some kind of payoff at Chamber, and it can't just be a normal. You've already done a last man standing match. I'm pretty sure they've done a street fight. I mean, what's next?
Does Kevin Owens somehow get in a triple
Steel
threat
cage?
match?
They've done a steel cage. Yeah, I could see him getting.
Can you see? Yeah, Kevin Owens maybe getting inside that triple threat match, getting in. If Edge chooses Roman, and then maybe Kevin Owens getting in that triple threat would be interesting.
I would like that, but also part of me would not like that because I know he'd probably take the pin. Because if you do want to continue to build Roman towards this inevitable, hopefully, Rock versus Roman match, you got to keep Roman safe, I guess is the right word in that sense. But yeah, I could see him kind of fighting his way into that match, but they really do have to keep him away from Roman himself after the Chamber. Because like you said, there really still hasn't been a payoff. I mean, they've done
If Kevin gets another match with Roman, he needs to win that match. Otherwise, Kevin Owens is done.
I mean, could you see him winning by like something like disqualification or something? Because if they did do a match at Chamber, obviously they can't fight in the Chamber. There's not going to be a one-on-one Chamber match. But there's got to be some sort of gimmick match. I mean, you can't just have a normal one-on-one match. And like I said, we've seen a last man standing, a street fight, a steel cage. I mean, is we're going to see a Hell in a Cell match, an Iron Man match, something to where...
Well, if I recall correctly, didn't Kofi Kingston go through 6 people in a gauntlet match?
Yeah.
At WrestleMania 35 during that push?
Yeah, I was there at that show. That's crazy that you brought that up. I was actually in the crowd at that show. But yeah, he had a gauntlet match on an episode of SmackDown, in Indianapolis, where he fought, like Sheamus and Cesaro. I think he fought Daniel
Yeah, and I
Bryan.
think the stipulation was for him to go to Mania, or for him to get a number one contender match of some type.
I'm just thinking in the sense that you have Roman at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. He's in some sort of match. If they're going to pay it off and then do something like that to where Kevin gets into a triple threat match at Mania, they have to do some sort of gimmick match at this upcoming pay-per-view that they haven't already done.
You got Fastlane too in between.
Yeah.
So there's time to tell the story for it.
I think Fastlane is the kind of pay-per-view that you can keep Roman Reigns off of because you have, three pay-per-views in the span of a month and a half, maybe even less. So with that, of the 3, Rumble, Chamber, and Fastlane, he can be kept off that one. But I'm just thinking if they have him at the Chamber in 2 weeks from tomorrow, he's got to be in some sort of gimmick match with Owens if they continue that story. I'm curious as to what match that would be, on top of the inevitable 2 Chamber matches that they're going to have for the men's and women's side.
I mean, listen, you can do anything there. You can do like a career match.
A career match?
Do loser leaves SmackDown. Loser doesn't get a title shot anymore.
That's something that AEW's done a lot.
You could still do that that one-on-one match with like some kind of stipulation.
Yeah.
And then have other people try to interfere and stuff. You could still. You could definitely get something in there. You win, you get a shot. You lose, no more title shots. You kind of like what they did to Lex Luger in '93.
Yeah.
And he won the Rumble.
I think Chamber is where we see Jimmy come back. And then I think that's where you could do a, Roman and Jimmy and Jay at Fastlane versus Edge, Christian, and Kevin Owens. I think that's a match that you can do to kind of just be that bridge, because Fastlane is that bridge pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But I think we could see the return of Jay or Jimmy in whatever stipulation match they have with Edge or with Roman and Kevin Owens.
So let's jump right into Bianca Belair, because you'll see where I'm going with this in a second. Bianca Belair also advertised to come on to SmackDown. She comes out, to potentially make her decision. So now you got Edge, who still needs to make a decision. Bianca, the other Rumble winner, still hasn't made a decision. Does WWE not know exactly where they're going yet?
No.
I haven't seen this before.
They don't. Yeah, that's the thing. What I brought up with the fact that Edge, being on 3 shows is just kind of weird to me. You almost always see, and again, the Women's Rumble is still a relatively new concept. So we're still getting used to the whole thing of having 2 Rumble matches in one night. I love it. I think it's great, especially just to give the women another more chances to shine. But normally we see the Rumble winner declare who they're going after the night after the Rumble. It's almost always happened year after year, especially for the last 20 years and the last millennium. It's just weird, man. I really don't think that they know what they're going to do, because you have the dirt sheets that are saying, oh, guys like John Cena are going to be at WrestleMania.
Could.
And then he announces, there's no possible way that I could actually be at WrestleMania. I think there's so many still, scheduling conflicts and just things, again, we talked about earlier in the show with how WrestleMania is being run. They just don't know the final way that they're going to end up putting these matches together. I'm sure we can expect Goldberg to be there in some capacity, but who's he going to challenge? Is he going to go after?
Could be like it could be a Keith Lee if Keith Lee's not in that main event, or it could be a Big E Langston.
Yeah,
I don't know why I said Langston. Nobody's used his name in like 6 years, but it could be Big E.
Yeah, I mean, there's the possibility that we still see Ronda. There's the possibility that we still see Becky Lynch. There's the possibility we even see a guy like Brock Lesnar. I think there's just so many scheduling conflicts and so many what ifs that WWE really doesn't know a single match that they're doing, and that they're just sitting there playing it by ear. I know that sounds bad, but Bianca and Sasha, I think, would be a fantastic match.
Oh yes, that could be like a potential main event match of the night.
Yeah,
and or second best match of either given night for sure.
Yeah, and I think that it's gotten a good response on Twitter, on social media, and Reddit, and all those things. And I think that's how WWE is partially picking out their matches.
Let me ask you this, and I don't think it's gonna happen, but do we see Bayley try to take Bianca Belair's spot for Mania to get her revenge match against Sasha?
That'd be a good story. I don't know how they'd pull it off, but it almost seemed...
Well, it's plain and simple. Bayley defeats Bianca and takes her number one contender spot. And then Bianca doesn't... Well, like I said, I don't see it happen, but... Or somehow Bayley inserts herself into the triple threat.
I think of the two possible matches where we talked about Kevin and Edge and Roman, or Bianca, Bayley, and Sasha, I think the women's match is more likely to happen. Just because I think we brought it up on the post show. It seemed like that elimination, Bianca throwing out Bayley, it wasn't really caught on camera, and it was kind of just a whoever, kind of elimination, just it happened kind of thing. It wasn't
cameraman made a mistake.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was intended or whatever. I'm sure it wasn't, but that's something that you could build a story off of, and I think Bianca deserves that singles match. However, putting those three women together, oh my gosh. I mean, talk about a show stealer. If you want to do a show where you have a women's match main event one and a men's match main event the other, that would steal the show. I mean, that would be a hell of a main event to end one of the nights on, whichever one they decide. And I think that would relatively steal that night's show. I would be hard-pressed to find a match. Again, we don't know the card, but put those three women together in the ring, they're gonna make magic. And yeah, I would love to see that, but a part of me also says give Sasha and Bianca that spotlight. Like, give Bianca the spotlight of having that singles match.
I think she's gonna get it. Bianca is a star.
Yeah, she's so good.
She's got it. She's good. I'm pretty sure she's going to choose Sasha. I'm not too sure if it really makes sense to have Bianca and Asuka in a one-on-one match right now.
Who do you think goes after Asuka then? Please don't say Charlotte. I can't stand Charlotte.
All right, let me ask you this: who do you put in that match against Asuka other than Charlotte? Do we see Becky Lynch come back?
Yes, I could see that, but I also think that we could see a Becky Ronda match, depending on if again, that's a scheduling thing. If both of them can even come back. I know Becky just became mother. Ronda did recently as well. But also, man, it's going to be hard for me to say this, but I really do think that having Ric Flair in her corner is going to push Lacey Evans up the card a lot in the next coming months.
I don't like that laugh of hers, by the way.
I don't either. And
That's so annoying. Very annoying. She needs to go back to face.
I'm not the biggest fan of Lacey Evans, but God, I'm just getting so burnt out on Charlotte. And that's... No, you know what? It is a knock towards Charlotte. I mean, it just doesn't seem like she is putting in the same amount of effort to her matches that she was a few years ago. It just seems like she's no-selling a lot of moves, not really giving it all, and whatever. That may be disrespectful and discrediting her, but I know I'm not the only person who's thought of that, and it just doesn't seem like I just can't really stand Charlotte being in another world title match, especially against Asuka. We saw that 3 years ago at 34. And she ended Asuka's undefeated streak. So yeah, I don't know who it would be against Asuka, but gosh, I'm really hoping it's not Charlotte. I'd rather see Charlotte in another type of match. Maybe have her win the women's battle royal or whatever.
Well, before we continue that, we got Everything Pro Wrestling Podcast. How you guys doing? You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
They say they see Becky after WrestleMania, which is possible. It's very possible. Like the night after, we do know she's training. She is training. And my guess is that she would want to be on the WrestleMania card if possible, if they can make it work. You know, listen, she's got a life now. She's got a baby. She's also got to train and get the baby weight off. And I'm sure she wants to look good and do it right when she comes back. So it's very possible could be after Mania. We said it months ago on our podcast that it would kind of be cutting it close, to have Becky back around Royal Rumble, and it was. But listen, February 6th is still just over 2 months to Mania. It's a lot of time. If
the match is there, because I think you bring her back in a high quality match. It's not something that you can put her in a women's battle royal or something like that.
Now, as of now, again, I think me and you can both agree that Bianca Belair is going against Sasha.
Yeah,
for sure. So listen, we've said it. We said it ad nauseum already. You still got Elimination Chamber and Fastlane to tie up the loose ends with the number one contenders of these matches that aren't chosen by the Royal Rumble winners.
Yeah.
So you got time to book that, and you got time, to possibly get like a Shayna Baszler in there. Shayna Baszler versus Asuka would be great.
Yeah.
But the way they've been booking Shayna Baszler and Nia, I mean, yeah, granted they have the tag titles on their waist, but I don't think Shayna's been featured and promoted correctly ever since she's been on the main roster.
Compared to being in that title match last year against Becky, it's insane how different the company has viewed her. I do think that Becky could be in that match against Asuka if the timing's right, of course, and if the story tells itself. But you do have a good story because Becky did give Asuka the title, basically, in the fact of, Asuka won the Money in the Bank, and Becky just came out the next night announced she was pregnant and said that's for the title. So I think the story's there. But yeah, I'd love to see Shayna Baszler in that match as well. I think there's a lot of possibilities, and again, we talked about it with NXT. You got to do something fresh. I think if you're going to have as many eyes as you will on WrestleMania being a 2-night event, you got to get fresh ideas, fresh things out. They did a great job last year with the cinematic matches. I think especially with the start of the Corona being the first company, professional sports entity really, to do something in the wake of the coronavirus. They had all these eyes on the product. They did the cinematic matches. Okay, now everybody's back. We're kind of getting back into the swing of things, having sports. March Madness will have happened, getting into the start of the MLB season. WWE needs to bring in something, some fresh ideas, something to where they can keep those eyes on the product. And I think Becky versus Asuka, if the timing is right, of course, would be a very solid. Absolutely. Oh my gosh! I mean that in a I know we're talking about.
Listen. You know what? That just reminds me. Becky gave that belt up to Asuka.
Yeah, with the briefcase. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah,
some interesting storytelling too. It would make sense. You know what? Let's book it now. Becky versus Asuka WrestleMania. We're gonna book it. We're gonna book it in advance and advertise it and let you know that's exactly what's gonna happen. You heard it here first.
But could you imagine having that? And again, like we talked about, we're probably going to see Bianca versus Sasha. Yeah. But if you have Bianca, Sasha, and Bayley, and then Becky and Asuka have one of those matches on both nights.
Yep.
I mean, oh my gosh, that is printing money for the women's division in matches that could steal the show.
You can't forget either that you're also going to have the NXT.
women's title.
somewhere around there. This is unbelievable times we're living in.
There should be this WrestleMania, honestly, in my opinion, and I know I say this every year, at least in my head, this will be our first WrestleMania together, but there's no excuse for WrestleMania to not be the best pay-per-view every single year. And WWE has such an abundance of talent this year. They've coming off a great Royal Rumble. They've got it, man. Like they have the setting for a fantastic 2-night WrestleMania event. Knock on wood that it actually happens, you know.
Absolutely. Moving on, we'll wrap up this. Moving on, we'll wrap up the SmackDown talk and jump into AEW. But Big E defeats Sami Zayn and Apollo in a triple threat Intercontinental title match. So that was basically the last match on the show last night. Great match between these guys. These guys can work. I have a feeling some of the ideas is booked by Sami Zayn. So like he's just been doing phenomenal work. Big E is having a good Intercontinental run right now. So I'm very excited to see where that goes. And then Cesaro in the mix. I mean, he could be a future contender for Big E, quite possibly. But Cesaro with a win over Daniel Bryan with a sharpshooter, and then you kind of see Daniel Bryan get a little frustrated during the match. It was almost like a 1 second heel turn. It was really weird.
This was kind of a quick match.
Yeah, and he put Cesaro over again. Yeah. So I'm wondering what WWE, what the story WWE is trying to tell there. Are we going to have a program that lasts till Mania?
I know he just signed a new deal. Cesaro did. So I imagine he's going to be in. We've kind of seen it recently. He's been kind of in for a push. They've been kind of giving him little nudges along the way, but I would love to see a full Cesaro push, you know, whether that's going after the Intercontinental title or whatever, getting big wins over AJ and Daniel Bryan and whoever else on the roster. I'd be down for a Cesaro push. I think it's duly needed.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you know how many times Cesaro has gotten over and just couldn't get over that hump?
Couldn't get over the hump. Yeah.
WrestleMania 30 when he threw over the Big Show. I think it was Big Show.
Yeah.
And the crowd was loving it. They were eating it up, and he had the momentum. And just because at some point he said the ring had 4 ropes, then let's bury him.
Yeah.
What a talent! He's a special talent. So he is. They got to run with. They got to run with that. They need to. WWE's got to rely on new faces, like we've been talking about for a very long time.
Time to right the wrongs, man. And at this point, man, if they're not going to give him a push, send him down to NXT.
Whoever's writing SmackDown is doing a pretty good job. It's not the greatest show, but they're doing a good job.
It's been consistently average to above average for a really long time. From what I've
been hearing, Daniel Bryan and Edge have been collaborating on a SmackDown, by the way.
Good,
I don't know how that is right now, but this is going back from a couple months ago. Like they were helping out writing SmackDown.
Yeah,
and then of course Paul Heyman is writing the Roman Reigns stuff. But that pretty much wraps up the WWE talk. We covered a lot, and we even discussed
59 minutes worth.
Discussed a couple possibilities as far as who Asuka could face, who Sasha could face, and Drew and
Roman.
And Roman, I forgot his name for a second. And then NXT, we'll see what's going to happen with them if they're even going to have a pay-per-view. Maybe they'll be. I'm thinking the NXT is going to be integrated too in Mania, which would really
make. Oh my gosh!
I think you gotta. If you're doing a 2-night WrestleMania card, you got to get NXT matches in there for sure. We'll talk quickly about AEW before we wrap up the show. But for those of you guys that are watching, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube link. Follow us on Twitter. We're also available on iTunes, Google, and Spotify. So, Beach Break. Pretty decent show. Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. What a match! Rosa hit her head in the exposed turnbuckle. Baker follows up with her finishing move and beats Thunder Rosa. Nice little rub there. They're doing a number one contender match, to my understanding. You get the American side and the Japanese side. 16 women fighting for a number one contender spot to face Hikaru Shida. And I think if you're booking this, I think you got to book Britt Baker to win this tournament here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good stories that can be told. I think, Ty Conti and Anna Jay, their friendship can be put on the line in a match, future in the bracket. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. We've talked a lot about the one thing that AEW hasn't done well is build their women's division. And I think this tournament is going to really help them out a lot. And I'm excited to see what comes of it over the next few weeks.
See, this is what I like about AEW. Meaningful matches.
Yeah.
They love if they don't have a specific story in place, then the other thing they're doing is tournaments.
Nobody can go wrong with a good tournament.
Absolutely. Listen, it makes meaningful matches.
Yeah.
It makes me want to care about watching AEW. WWE needs to do more tournaments.
I think the thing that kind of sold me on tournaments was the Cruiserweight Classic, the match between Gargano and Ciampa while they were still teammates. That match totally set up the turn by Ciampa and Gargano. It was just a little hint of, okay, well, they can be great against each other. I mean, that's perfect storytelling, and I think tournaments can do that. AEW's done a fantastic job. The tag team tournament, we've seen a world championship tournament. Now we're going to see the women's tournament. I'm really excited for this tournament. Be able to see a lot of women that normally you wouldn't see on TV or would only be featured on Dark. So I'm really excited for this one. Great, again, like you said, great move by AEW to put this tournament in motion.
Absolutely. How about the Kip Sabian wedding?
I was expecting something,
I think if I want anybody to marry me off, it's going to be the Sinister Minister.
Yeah. Father James Mitchell, man. Good to see him getting some business still. But yeah, man, good for them. I know that this was actually like a real wedding. From what I heard, that this was actually like their real wedding. Like their parents couldn't be there, but no, good for them. I love the storyline, seeing OC Orange Cassidy there and Trent turning on him, or not Trent.
Chucky Taylor,
Chucky T.
Chuck.
Yeah, as the butler.
Chucky the butler.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, but no, a good segment. Normally, you kind of expect something to go wrong with the
and the
weddings.
Best man Miro in there. He's like, oh no, something's fishy.
Yeah,
he's like, I've been a part of these weddings before. Obviously, he's hit to the WWE wedding that took place earlier this year. By the way, or right at the end of 2019, and he's suspecting of everything. I thought it was great with the possibly somebody being in a box, and then it ends up that Chucky T is in the background. He kind of walks away nonchalantly out of the ring, and you see him. You don't see him, but he ties Miro handcuff to the corner. And then Miro realizes afterwards, and then you see Orange Cassidy coming out of the cake. It was a WWE booked wedding. It was a fun segment. I liked it.
I think that's the thing is, wrestling fans, we all know wedding segments have never gone right. Even going back to the Macho Man Miss Elizabeth days with the Snake and Undertaker, but it was just fun. I think that's the thing is wrestling.
Stephanie.
Yeah. Wrestling is deserving of that entertainment value, and I think that this segment was exactly that.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I was waiting to kind of like when you see a wedding segment in wrestling, you're kind of wondering, okay, something's about to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But Kip Sabian wedding, and then also not to mention March 3rd. They're hyping up the March 3rd. Dynamite with Cody and Red Velvet against Jade and Shaq. Shaq said on NBA TV on TNT that he's going to bust out his Shaqnado finishing move. He even demonstrated it too. It was kind of like Jericho's Judas effect.
Let me just say this so we can get on to the main event, because I'm not very excited about this. Wrestling needs celebrities at some points, but this isn't the match. I'm glad that it's not taking place on a pay-per-view. Let's just say that.
It's a pretty hyped up Dynamite. It's gonna be that AEW is gonna break a 1. I'm not too sure if they've broken a 1 yet in the ratings. Maybe I don't think they have.
I'm not the biggest fan of Jade either, to be honest.
No. She's a Bianca Belair knockoff for sure.
I just feel a lot of her promos are forced. Yeah. But you know, like I said, I maybe it was last week, or we were kind of talking. They finally made it official. I know that we've been talking about this actually being a match for a while, but they actually made it official. Who knows, man? Maybe Shaq does a Hurricane Rana, does a dive off the top rope or something. I don't know. But I am very much not looking forward to this match.
Shaq splash off the top rope.
Yeah, let's see Shaq there's Stinger splash, and now he's doing the Shaq splash or something.
Can't be any worse than what Snoop Dogg did a couple weeks ago.
The Van Shaqinator or something. He drop kicks a chair in somebody's face. I mean, I'm not very excited for this match, but I understand it. You know, it's the entertainment part of wrestling. But okay, I'll segue into it because I think it's my favorite part of the entire show, and one that wrestling fans should just be excited for in general. The main event, I mean, Jon Moxley and Death Triangle, Rey Fenix and Pac versus the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. Man, what a hell of a match. I don't know if you caught this match, but
nonstop.
Loved it. Fantastic. And then at the very end, we kind of see some infighting. We see Lance Archer come out and attack the Good Brothers.
Yeah, because it's 3-on-1 at that point.
Yeah, and then a masked man comes out of the crowd. You know, he's wearing his hood.
Now listen, before we, though, I was getting messages, and I didn't watch it at this point. I watched it later, like 2 hours later.
Yeah,
I didn't watch it at this point. And then in my Living the Gimmick podcast group on Discord, everyone's raving about it. They didn't say the name. Thank God they didn't spoil it. But they were like, Wayne, you need to watch Dynamite, specifically the ending. I'm thinking to myself, all right, this has got to be big. This has got to be Brock Lesnar showing up on AEW. This has got to be CM Punk or somebody big. And then, Tommy, continue.
I mean, it's cool for me.
It's cool in the aspect that New Japan is allowing their guys to show up on AEW, which can open up a whole can of worms, which we'll talk about in a second. But then when I saw Kenta's face, I'm like, this is what everybody was raving about, and I get why they were raving about it. But
it's that dynamic of Kenta,
a goober on WWE. He was a goober.
He was not good.
Barely even, not even low card, very low card, and
he should have.
And
been
that
more.
was my first impression of Kenta before. Kenta was in New Japan. I didn't watch any of that stuff. My first impression of Kenta was when he came on to NXT, and then they quickly changed him to a Hideo Itami, and then that run he got hurt, and then he was always floundering somewhere, and lucky if he was not he was never of any importance in this whole WWE career.
Which is he should have been. He should have been way more better than he was. But
WWE didn't have that faith in him that he was going to stay healthy. He was out for long periods of time.
Very long, yeah. But I think what this does, and what we talked about before the show, is Kenta won the right to face the IWGP US champion, who just in fact happens to be Jon Moxley. And for him to show up on AEW, and then the further announcement that an AEW and New Japan deal is set in stone, that they're going to be, going back and forth. I think that's great. I think we're going to see a super show, and we talked about this before the show, a super show down the line between the two companies. Oh my gosh. I mean, sign me up for that.
Check this out. You got now you got AEW working with Impact and New Japan. You can literally
and NWA.
Yeah. So I'm not too sure if NWA has any former Bullet Club members, but excluding WWE for now, you can literally have a Bullet Club run the wrestling world for the most part. Yeah. Now that everybody's watching AEW and the new fans, not even the marks, the IWC, but the new fans of AEW, they know who Bullet Club is. They also know that AJ, Finn Balor, AJ, and Adam Cole used to be in there. So you can literally have this thing blow up into something big where Bullet Club is going around all these different promotions. And if WWE gets their heads out of their butts, Vince McMahon specifically, that maybe, just maybe, you can have a side deal with these promotions where some of the Bullet Club members come over into WWE TV and spark something big there, and then maybe have Finn, AJ Styles, Adam Cole crossing over, once or twice to the other shows, and that would just be something big that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And I know Triple H would probably be willing to be doing business with that, but Vince McMahon, not so much.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
there's
the
something big you could do here for sure.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless. And I know we're running a little bit over our normal time, and I'll wrap it up quickly, but it's, again, something that I said to begin, before we even started recording. These special TV pay-per-view style shows that AEW runs, I mean, they're really must-see TV. I think AEW Dynamite is almost must-see wrestling each and every week, but these TV...
Except for 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that one was bad, but these TV pay-per-view style shows, there's either really great wrestling or there's something major that happens, whether it's a Sting debut, Kenta coming out, again, like you said, it's not to the level of somebody like a Brock or a CM Punk, but that working relationship creates so many possibilities that I think AEW is really going to cement their footprint in the wrestling business over the next year. I think
absolutely. AEW can easily use New Japan as getting their brand exposure overseas.
I think TNA was always, especially in the early 2000s, was always kind of thought of, okay, maybe they could be that competition to WWE. I don't know if AEW will ever actively compete against WWE. If they move to Raw, move to Mondays, Dynamite moves to Mondays, and they start challenging them, then maybe we could see that in the fashion of WCW. But AEW is really consistently putting on fantastic shows, and I think that this working relationship with New Japan, with NWA, with Impact, who also has connections with Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and ROH and all these other companies, AAA. I just think that there's so many possibilities of this wrestling world that we see just kind of coming together. And if WWE can get in on that, I mean, wrestling is really becoming, again, water cooler talk. And if WWE gets in on that, oh my gosh. I mean, wrestling would be huge again for once, like back in the 90s.
It hurt wrestling business as a whole.
Yeah.
Didn't put them down, as you can see, but it did hurt the wrestling business that WWE was the only televised option for so many years, and TNA is like, whatever. You had a couple good years when AJ Samoa Joe was in there and what have you, 2005, let's just say. But other than that, we have seen what putting your competition down and burying your competition could do to the business. And now that you see AEW arising, and you got Impact, you got New Japan, You got NWA as a potential option, to watch and the crossover. We see with Thunder Rosa and what have you.
Yeah.
This is good for wrestling business to have and help out your competition. And if WWE would get on the mix, that would be man. Oh man, having WWE guys cross over and AEW guys cross over every once in a while doesn't have to be overdone.
Yeah.
But to see the possibility of Okada in an AEW ring, or maybe even having a chance of having an Okada go against John Cena at a WrestleMania.
I mean, the possibilities
if you were willing, and that would be great for business if you were willing to do business.
To do business. Yeah. Who knows, man? I mean, the wrestling world has been turned upside its head the last year and a half with the debut of AEW. So, I mean, it would be interesting to see.
Absolutely. Well, we've covered a lot. This is Super Bowl weekend. We have an impending snowstorm coming our way tomorrow. Actually, just a couple hours, 5 a.m. in the morning, they say over here. So tomorrow's going to be a fairly big day. Hopefully not a whole lot of shoveling. Hopefully the weather will be fine by you. But for those of you guys that are watching, thank you so much. We saw some people hopping on and commenting earlier. Thank you. Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, share, and share with your friends, your family, your pets, on Twitter,
share
iTunes, Google Podcasts. Yes, get the word out there, especially that subscribe button. Make sure that's hit. So this way you can get access to the post shows. The post shows aren't going on a podcast because we want subscribers. So if you want the post shows, you got to subscribe. That pretty much wraps up episode 53. We got a lot of good stuff coming in the upcoming weeks, which will roll out shortly. But Tommy, thank you so much for hopping on, man. 53 episodes in the book.
Yeah, man. Crazy. Keep rolling.
1 year anniversary. 1 year anniversary is about 2.5 months away. Unbelievable.
Very much so.
Thank you guys, everybody, for watching. Tommy for hopping on. And everybody, you guys have an awesome night. We will be back next week. Gotta hit that end button.